The next speaker is Liz White, Animal Alliance of Canada. Ms. White, is she on? Ms. White, you're on?
Hello.
Hi, hello, good afternoon. You have 5 minutes. You may begin.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for allowing me to speak on this issue.
You're welcome.
I think I might be the only person in the people presenting that's recommending that the city actually defer this expansion of the urban hen TO over the entire city for three really good reasons, I think. First is the financial cost to the city. We've just sat through a long discussion about homelessness and the difficulty that the city is having to pay for all of the programs that are necessary to help homeless people. And we're now considering having the city spend $300,000 per year after the first 2 years to allow the city to have backyard hens throughout the city. It seems like when the city has a financial deficit of 1.4 billion with no indication as to how that's going to be made up, to add $300,000 to that issue seems to me to be really problematic for the city. The second is, and I think this is very serious, is the avian flu issue. If you look at the CFIA data, if you look at the USDA data, a lot of commercial operations have avian flu, but so do backyard hens. And although the city is not near many commercial barns, we do have a number of slaughterhouses within the city, one in particular that deals with many hens and many birds. And so bird flu is not a non-issue in the city of Toronto. And I think that then calls into question the humane issue. If there is bird flu within the city and the CFIA comes in and says all the backyard hens have to be euthanized as a result of that, I think it raises questions of humane issues and how those birds are actually handled. So I think if you look at the financial issue, there is cost recovery in the first 2 years of the program as the program gets set up. But after that, the city is on the hook for $300,000. And that's for an estimated 1,400 people who might actually participate in the program. It seems like a pretty rich program to me. And I think you need to ask yourself the question, is that money well spent in a city that is facing some pretty big challenges in terms of its budget? I just point to the very end of the submission that I did. I pulled out the data from the USDA, which keeps the reports on bird flu in the United States. And as you can see, of the 50 locations where bird flu have been identified, that 22 of those are involving backyard chickens, some very small backyard chicken numbers and some a little bit bigger. But this is an issue that has been spreading and in fact started in Canada on the East Coast. So I think it's something that we just should not ignore. And I think for that reason, I would recommend that we defer the item so that City Council can consider how to deal with it from a budget perspective and how to deal with it from a bird flu perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Let me just check to see if there are any questions of you. There are no questions of you. Thank you very much again for your presentation. All right. So members, I have a motion that I would like to. The motion is that City Council direct that the current pilot project in Chapter 349 Animal Section 349-1-41 Hens pilot program be extended until March 31st, 2023, and that 2, City Council direct the Executive Director of Municipal Licensing and Standard to conduct further consultation on the proposed changes to a permanent program outlined in recommendation 1, 2, 3 in the report dated March 10, 2022 from the Executive Director of Municipal Licensing and Standards, and report back to the Economic and Community Development Committee in the first quarter of 2022. Having been here and having had some of those people who had concerns, in fact, it was former Councillor Mahavic's own neighbor who actually, he and his wife and his children came, and I've spoken with them. They were very, very upset in terms of what had happened to them. I don't know the current situation with respect to where they are and what has happened, but I can tell you that in dealing with them, it was very problematic for them. Actually, as a young boy, I had chickens, actually. Love them. They're very nice. They make a lot of noise. They make a lot of noise. And I realize that the uptake, as staff has indicated, has not been that many, but there are a number. And to certainly make this a city-wide initiative, looking at the costs, I'm very concerned about that. We've heard from the staff in terms of the initial cost, and it seems to decrease. So the registration is $151, annual is $34 annually. I think that's what I heard Mr. Grant stated, and so on. I think at the end of the day, the resources that are going to be spent by the city is going to be much more than actually that we actually have stated here. Not to suggest that staff are actually providing us with misinformation, because that's not the case. But I do think that as we move forward, as we've seen in many things here in the city, the cost continues to escalate and so on. And I also think that, people have to be aware that chickens produce a lot of feces. And when you're out in the summertime or when you're out with your friends and in your backyard, you don't have chickens and your neighbor is not actually cleaning the yard as they should. And we often hear this from the city, that we will respond to it, but often we don't get the response that we need. How many of us as members of council are often trying to get, whether or not it's the bylaw enforcement officers or what have you, to enforce some of the rules or planning rules and so on, because people are not actually adhering to them. And so the other piece of this is that chickens, yes, they're animals, and we know, in as much as the suggestion is that you have to keep them in your own yard, that's not always going to happen. One of the questions that I did ask staff, not today but prior, around the containment of them. There were some comments around the chickens being in cage and so on for most of the day. Well, that's not really the case. Chickens will be out running in the backyards and so on. I'm happy that they will do that, and happy that that's something that they are prone to do. However, it's a very delicate line, quite frankly, because I'm not strongly opposed to this. What I'm concerned about, I need more information. I relied on Miss White and her team when we were looking at reptilia, putting it here in the city of Toronto, and people came out and spoke to that. There's no reason for me to dismiss the things that she's saying in this 9-page document. I value her input, and for those reasons, I'm going to suggest that we spend a bit more time dealing with this issue, have more people engage. We've seen that the uptake's not been that many. Over a 4-year period, we've had about 100 people participated in the survey. That's not a lot of people. We have 3 million people in the city of Toronto. And so I don't believe that we have spent enough time to review and study this. And I think there's a need for more time. I know people say, well, government, you're always studying. Yes, but this is a really important issue. Chickens make a lot of noise. And if you ever stop to think about the noise and why they make the noise, because one of the videos that I looked at, the chicken that laid an egg wanted the other chickens to lay the egg right then in that area. And that chicken just kept on making noise and noise. We're going to then deal with those noise complaints. So I'm suggesting that we defer making this decision, but to continue to extend the program so those who are participating in it now will actually continue to do so until such time that we deal with this matter in 2023. Those are my remarks.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could I have a question about your motion?
Of course, absolutely, of course, yes.
Yeah, thank you. So this is if approved today, this will come into effect April 1st, 2023. So you're asking a report back to March, sometime in March. I didn't catch the time. So would it delay the implementation date of April 1st then, if that's the case? Or can we actually, we'll stay on the course and this program will come into effect April the 1st?
So my motion doesn't speak to an April 1st date. It really speaks to a process that will allow us to actually coincide to what we're looking at in the future, but we will actually take more time to review and ensure that we have more information to address the issues around avian flu, which I'm concerned about. And so it really doesn't speak to actually dealing with that issue in April, Councillor.
Well, the reason I'm asking that is because, I don't want to perceive to be that we are procrastinating in some of the decision-making here. And I just wanted to make sure that if I don't know whether you undertake how much longer the staff can provide another report about avian flu, because, you asked that question and they say that it's very low risk. And I'm just wondering whether you can maybe make the, like a friendly amendment to put it maybe January council meeting or something, so that at least it will not be delayed for the implementation date much longer.
Yeah, just to reiterate, Councillor, there's no delay with respect to the implementation at all. What I'm actually saying is that there's a real need for more time. We were not going to start the program until 2023.
April 1st,
Yeah. So there is enough time to allow for the work to be done between now and that time in order to be sort of consistent with respect to the timing if we were to support this report going forward. So it really doesn't negate, it doesn't detract from the go forward, but it does offer an opportunity to have more time in order to review the concerns that I've raised and others have raised.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. That's my.
You're welcome. Councillor Carroll?
Can I maybe follow up, question the mover, follow up on what Councillor Lai is saying? Because I think we're kind of jumping over it and missing this. I think what Councillor Lai is talking about is rather than you're asking that the pilot continue until March 23rd, 2023. Right. And if that is the case, then staff could not proceed without coming back to us with these same sort of bylaw amendments, which couldn't happen until April or beyond. And so I think what Councillor Lai is asking for is if they could do the work that your motion contemplates, but they could report back January 2023, I think that might be a Peace in the Valley compromise, that if they come back with great information, particularly about avian flu, we could pick up where we left off, or we could say this isn't going to work.
Yeah, and now it's a little clearer to me.
Yeah.
I'm happy to actually adjust that to reflect that, and that would reflect
friendly amendment to January
your interest and Councillor Lai's as well, because then we still are able to continue the program along.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Lai, we are just going to make some changes, so that's a good suggestion.
Yes, that's exactly what I was suggesting, but I'm sorry I didn't articulate
It's
maybe
totally
good enough.
fine. That's why we're all here. We're all working together.
Yeah.
One moment,
Good,
please.
thanks.
Just give me one moment, please, Councillor Lai. Is it ready? Oh, wow, you guys are brilliant. Yeah, January, that's fine. Councillor Lai, the staff are just finalizing it. We'll be ready in a moment.
And thanks, Councillor Carroll, for reiterating what I was going to say.
Teamwork, Councillor Lai. Teamwork.
Yes, this is the most collaborative committee in the darn building.
All right, members, if Councillor Lai, could you take a look now to see that in Councillor Carroll? Yeah. That works.
Yes, that
Yeah,
works.
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for the suggestion. Thanks for the clarification there, Councillor Carroll. All right, so Mr. Clerk, we would basically deal with my amendment first? Sorry.
Chair, can I just ask one question of the mover, because there's just been changes here.
Yes. Council, go ahead, Councillor.
So if your motion passes,
Yes,
then council will not have the opportunity to extend this pilot citywide
that's correct.
at the April meeting. Is that?
That's correct. That's correct, Councillor Cressy. Yeah. But the program will continue in those designated areas that had the program all along. Okay. All right, members, ask for a recorded vote on this, please. Thank you, Mr.
All right, we will display Deputy Mayor Thompson's motion, and we'll vote on that. This will be a recorded vote. All in favor of this motion by Deputy Mayor Chair Thompson? All in favor, please?
You called names.
In the room, I see Councillor Ford, Councillor Carroll, Deputy Mayor Thompson. Again, I'm asking in favor. Councillor
I'm in
Lyle-
favor.
Councillor Lyle is in favor, and all
In
opposed?
favor.
Yep, all opposed. Councillor Cressy.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, that motion carries 4-2.
Okay, thank you very much.